Hello there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to PPR podcast number 57. My name is Paul. You know Bert. Bert, why don't you introduce our, well, he's not a Hall of Famer yet, but he should be a Hall of Famer, right?
Should be. Actually, and I don't like to say this, so actually, you were my favorite player in the 90s, believe it or not. Six-time All-Pro, six-time Pro
Bowler,
two-time All-Pro.
3 times. You made the Pro Bowl 3 times, right? Or the All-Pro team 3 times.
Yep.
Once as a starter, twice as a second team. I know it.
My own favorite player.
When Eric played, he was considered.
It was Eric and Deion Sanders. And Rob Woodson.
He was considered what they call today a shutdown corner.
Yes.
Yeah, Rod kind of transitioned to safety, and we kind of hold that against him. But, I'm not going to go any further.
I always just had you and Deion, and then Rod moved around, but he was pretty good at it.
With all due respect to Deion, I know everyone loves Deion. Eric Allen never shied away from hitting somebody like. With all due respect, you stuck your nose in there. Deion played a little flag football a lot of times.
I'm not going to say again my favorite player. I grew up in Philly, so you weren't allowed to shy away from that in Philly.
No.
Yeah, if Deion was in Philly, he would have had to hit somebody at that time.
He would have. We'd have held him accountable like we tried to do in many of the Pro Bowls, but Prime was Prime. He's going to do his thing.
Yes, and I mean no disrespect. Great player, great broadcaster, great coach.
Yeah.
But tackling was not his strong suit.
He didn't want to get dirty, man.
Yeah.
He may want to fly out and play a baseball game afterwards or something.
So, hey, that's a good. Didn't you play baseball at Point Loma too?
Yeah. I was on the team that David Wells pitched on.
Oh, really?
And didn't have to do much in the outfield because no one could hit. Basically, he was just an unbelievable pitcher. You know, just a scrawny kid growing up in OB here, and would come to practice and throw batting practice to us so we can get better. So we had a great team. David Camara, who went on to play Major League Baseball in the minor league system, myself and a couple other guys. But, of course, David Wells was just a tremendous guy, and we ended up winning. I'm not sure if we even lost, more than a handful of games that whole year. So it was a really good situation for us at Point Loma High.
So could you have played baseball at Arizona State if you wanted to?
Well, you know what's funny? Because I was drafted really late by the Cincinnati Reds, and the whole recruiting process, because I loved ASU baseball, when I got down there, it was like, oh, yeah, you can play baseball and football. It's like, man, sign me up. I go there and didn't know it at the time, but their left fielder was Barry Bonds. The center fielder was a guy named Odeby McDowell, who was the college baseball player of the year. The right fielder was Mike Devereaux, the second player picked in the draft for the Atlanta Braves. So I had a hack. I went out to shag some balls. Coach Brock, legendary coach at ASU, told me and another teammate, hey, you guys know where spring football is? We're like, yeah, it's across the street. He's like, yeah, you guys need to go and join them. So it was not even 15 minutes that I get to participate in baseball at ASU.
So, hey, can I just because you've excelled at every level that you've played at, when you are sitting around daydreaming about your athletic career, which I assume every athlete, be a professional or a hack like me, does, what level do you go back to? Do you go back to your high school days? You go back to your college days? You go back to your NFL days?
Funny, because I've been lucky enough and fortunate to come back to my hometown in San Diego. And, whenever, I'm around town, I run into high school friends of mine and even Pop Warner guys. And I tell you, the friends that you have made throughout the journey of football are long lasting. Whenever you see them, you immediately go back to that time. So there's instances where I'm talking to guys from Blanchard Park, Pop Warner, and, we're talking about, going up to Inglewood and playing Inglewood, when we're like 9 or 10 years old. So it doesn't fail, and that's great to be able to be back home, is to be able to remember those days at Pop Warner or high school at Point Loma. And we have a huge text chain with our college guys, and of course our pro guys, alumni, being the Raiders and the Eagles, are very strong. So we're always excited about the upcoming season.
Yeah, it's crazy. We talked about, I forget who we talked about, another guest, but the different teams, everybody thinks the alumni is the same, but I played with the Eagles 1 year. I get invited to everything for the Eagles for playing there 1 year hurt. Chargers have never invited me to a single thing.
Well, probably because you've been so critical of the Chargers over your course of your broadcast career.
And I'm going to back him up on that because they have not done a very good job of welcoming their veterans and their alumni groups back. I've been fortunate, like I said, the Raiders are probably the best. We just hosted over 300 ex-Raiders at our last preseason game and had a great time. Mr. Davis rented out the top floor of one of the hotels. We're kicking back, had food, just able to kind of vibe and talk with each other. People in the building are ex-Raiders at times. He gives opportunities for family members. They do an incredible job. And every time the Eagles are on the West Coast, they call me up. They want me to come by, talk to the team. It's an extraordinary opportunity to kind of give back. And all veterans hopefully get that opportunity. But like Brett, just talking about, we just don't have that opportunity for all the teams.
Did you call me Brett?
Yeah, I did.
All right.
Like Brett
All right,
Favre.
so what do you do with it? Well, I'd rather be mistaken for Brett Favre. Eric, currently, are you part of the broadcast team now?
Yeah, this is going on year 4, I think, going on year 4. So I do pregame radio with JT the Brick, who's awesome.
Oh.
He's been doing so long. Yeah, he's awesome. And that's the kind of reaction you get from everybody. I work with JT the Brick. What? I know JT the Brick, so JT has been doing it for, I think, 25 years. So I do a pregame radio show with him. And then I do a post-game television show with Silver and Black Productions. We do all Raider theme. So I'm on television throughout the season, like 20 weeks out of the year. Do a post-game television show with the head coach, do interviews with the players. So it's great. It's a great chance for me to continue to be involved.
I assume you have a place in Vegas then?
Well, yes, we have a team hotel. And so it's very easy to, go on a Tuesday and stay for a week because the team kind of puts us up. It's in Henderson, Nevada, so we're not on the Strip. They have an outstanding facility with state-of-the-art. I mean, it's unbelievable what Mr. Davis has done there in Las Vegas. And now the Aces facility is right next door to ours. So, I mean, you couldn't believe, like 4 years ago, what the Raiders were playing in Oakland. And now fast forward and see the facilities that we have, plus the Allegiant Stadium is just tremendous.
Please follow up on that, because are we talking about the nicest stadium in the? I mean, I know the folks in LA will say ours costs a lot more and is bigger, but where does the
Death Star, they call
it? I think it you really can't compare the two based on the timing of it built. It came in under budget. No one got hurt, on time. They did an incredible job of giving that Las Vegas feel. So there's stages everywhere. There's different parts of the stadium where you can kind of just hang out, right? And stand on top of the platform underneath the torch, which represents what all Raider Nation is about, Al Davis. Then you still have the black hole, which is in the southwest end zone. So all the Raider faithful that are coming from Oakland have still a place to be. And then they have the outstanding halftime. There's always some kind of performance at halftime. Some big celebrity or star is at halftime. Someone's singing the national anthem. So space-wise, Los Angeles Rams Stadium may be bigger, but there's no doubt Allegiant Stadium is the best.
Okay, which one's more expensive? Because they're both pretty pricey, are they not?
You know what? I think the LA one is more more expensive.
They're like $2 billion over budget.
Yeah, I know.
Well, they also have
and everything. In Las Vegas, there's just so much room.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather go to Vegas to see it. If I don't go to like NFL games. Going to NFL games in person does not appeal to me as much as I did when I was younger or just starting out in this business. But if I was going to go to a game, I think I'd want to go to Vegas before I want to go to SoFi.
Yeah, guys.
Vegas over Inglewood? No.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What do you?
So you see like Inglewood, where you go to see a Rams and Eagle game, it could be good. You come to Vegas and see a Raiders and Eagles game, it was unbelievable. Kansas City Chiefs every week. It's crazy. People are coming all over the country as Raider fans because it has such a huge following. And then you bring in, a team that obviously they hate, are the Chargers, the Kansas City Chiefs. But I just go back to that Raiders game of the Raiders and Eagles game of last year, it was just a collection of great fans who came in. It seemed like they came in on Friday, and they were pretty, they were pretty wild when Sunday
pretty
came.
lubed up, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
So Eric, Paul always on this show talks about his big play, his greatest play of his career.
Eric, I'll spare you. Don't worry.
I'm gonna tell you my favorite play of your career, and then I want to hear your favorite play of your career, and then Paul, maybe you'll share.
No,
yours.
I'm not
After
going
I
to.
say-
Yeah.
Eric, I'm not
So
sure.
Paul.
wait, I'm gonna go with the Jets one. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Is that your favorite play?
So no, it's not. But
What?
the thing about that play, Bert, was Boomer was trying to throw like a in route or something like that, and I kind of picked up on what the receiver was doing, was able to make the catch, and the catch was kind of behind me. But when I caught the ball, I looked up, and Boomer was like walking off the field, like
Not even trying to
I was
tackle
going
you.
to be tackled.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he doing? He doesn't know I'm about to return. And so that was the whole, because I was going to catch it, kind of but I saw him like walking off the field, and I was kind of like, okay, you don't think I can do this? So that's kind of where all of the movements came. And
All right.
when I got down to the side, when I got to the left side after probably 50 yards of running, we had a corner named Ben Smith from Georgia, and he was like, pitch the ball, pitch the ball. I was like, Ben, and, I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, after all this, I'm not going to pitch you the ball. Randall Cunningham, who was our quarterback at the time,
Was hurt,
had
right?
got hurt earlier in the game, had tore his knee up again, and he was standing in the end zone on his crutches. And after the run, I went up and handed him the ball. So it was kind of fitting to see all that happen, and then have Randall standing in the end zone, handing the ball. Everyone's excited, and it was a humongous play. Of course, Chris Berman. Every time I see Chris, he always talks about the play and brings it up. My favorite play, though, is a play against Washington. It was the last game of the season. We needed the win to go to the playoffs, and they were in the red zone, probably like the 5 or 10 yard line. And so I was covering, I think at the time I was matched up with Gary Clark. He was a slot receiver, really shifty.
Real good.
For Washington. And so they motioned me from the right side to the left side. And as I'm running across the formation, I'm thinking they're motioning me because we have a young corner who is matched up on, I think his name was Art Monk, who's a Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Is going to run like a little pivot route and body him in the end zone. And at the time, the young corner, his name was Otis Smith, who eventually went on to win Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. He wasn't experienced enough to really cover Art in that situation. And all Art had to do was get into the end zone and just box him out and play basketball, basically. So I'm running across the formation. They snap the ball, and it's Mark Rippon, and I stop. Not even all the way to the left side. I stop. I go all the way back to the left side, and just in time, knock the ball down. And we end up, winning the game, because that was like the last play of the game. If Mark Rippon would have pulled that ball down and threw it to my guy,
you left your man unattended.
They would have ran me out of the building. But fortunately, those instincts kick in for you. And sometimes that's the most important thing, I think, that separates good players from great players, is there's these immeasurables that there's no analytics that can handle it. There's nothing really that will tell a person, a coach, staff, that this guy is capable of doing these things in the moment, because they've never been done before. I mean, I stopped in the middle of the play as time is going, and trust my instincts, trust my studying, go back and knock the ball down. And hey, it's a breakup and everyone's cheering, but to take that risk and to be cool with that.
But you just did that instinctively. You didn't sit here and think about it. I mean, that's just something you found yourself doing, right?
I found myself doing it because the experience of they're not going to challenge me
right
in this situation, because I've been successful. So game planning wise, if I was a coach and I got in that situation, I would want my Hall of Fame receiver going against a younger corner who doesn't really know. So I'm going to, Eric, I'm going to aid in our defense. And whenever you have a defense, it's just not 11. If you can multiply that by how you play the game up here, 11 becomes 11 and a half or 12. You know, sometimes in Philadelphia, we had Reggie, Seth, myself, Clyde, Jerome. I mean, we're playing like 15 guys on the field. It was basically, you know, what series do you want to take over?
Right.
You bring up Jerome, and I grew up in Philly, and I've been a big Eagles fan. How devastating was that to that team? Because that team, you could just see it just – I mean, that team was like almost like the Bears in '85, and that happened, and it was like devastating.
Yeah, but you're right, because Buddy had kind of groomed our team to be that Bears type of football team, and he wanted to improve on aspects that he thought, you know, the Bears didn't want to or couldn't. So we were all about that. We were all about defensively just being a dominant, you know, team that really took advantage of all those outstanding players up front, particularly Jerome and Reggie. Jerome was really the glue of that football team. And whenever we would go to Florida, right, to play, I mean, it was like the king was coming back home. All the clubs would shut down. We'd have meals for free. I mean, they just loved Jerome because he was such a hometown hero, just an ambassador of football and how to get to the league, but don't leave those people who were important to you. Don't leave those people behind. He would have his like high school teachers at the game in Philly, you know, his YMCA coach, you know, at the game in Philly. I mean, we just all loved Jerome. And when he passed away, unfortunately, way too soon, we were devastated. And that was really the beginning of the breakup of that great defense.
Can I bring this conversation back to the high school level?
Well, I'm a little worried because you just told that thing how you left your man. Every high school PPR thing we see this week's going to be kids getting burned and cut now.
Hey, corners out there, stay on your man. Stay on your man.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because you still have a youngster playing, right?
Noah, right?
Yeah. Last one. Noah Allens at Point Loma High School plays slot receiver and a little corner.
All right. So how do you balance that? Because you obviously have a lot of knowledge, yet you don't want to be that dad. You don't want to be. But you also want to give your boy every competitive advantage you possibly can.
Yes.
I know I would if you were my dad. So talk a little bit about that, and then talk a little bit about what are the lessons that you're teaching kids at the high school level that will help them most get to the next level.
Yeah. You know, the first thing I talk to them about is make sure you're taking care of right now. You know, let's not look too far in the future about all those other things. Don't compare yourself to other players, you know, who are, you know, being broadcast of this star and that star. You know, let's set some goals for you and let's try and reach those goals. And you have to stack days. And what I mean by that is you have to really put in the work on yourself. Make sure when you get your opportunity through the pass, through the air, you have to capitalize on that opportunity. The only way you can do those things is by putting in the work and when the lights are not on. You know, when you're at home, we have, like, me and my son, we do a catching circuit, you know, every Thursday. He's in the ice tub, you know, after hard practices. We watch film together, and we just talk about things that he can improve himself on, because that's what it's really about. It's about every day trying to get a little better, because none of us are perfect. And in this day and time, we're so different, right, from broadcasting practices. You know, people are broadcasting practices on, you know, their YouTube channel. You know, back when I was playing, no one really cared about practice. It was really up to you and your circle to, you know, put goals on yourself. So I think that's the first thing we talk about. Just make sure you're taking care of your thing and not really worried about the other guy.
And do you think, I mean, because we talk about high school kids are getting NILs now. I mean, there's high school kids making more than you made as all pro in your second, third year. I mean, is that a good thing at that age, you think?
No, I don't think it's a good thing in high school. I really don't. I think it should be team-based in high school or unit-based. So if someone wants to get an NIL deal, it should be to the offense. It should be to the D-line. It should be to a group and not just an individual, because high school kids, high school young players, I think are not mature enough to be able to separate, that type of money when you're in high school with other high school players who are 15 years old. You have a guy, on campus who's 18 years old, getting $500,000 a year, and that 15-year-old, they're on the same team. How does that 15-year-old think about success when the guy on his team is making, $500,000? Is success getting the NIL deal, or is success making sure you get reps as the third receiver?
Right.
So you got to go home and get in the sand and work on your routes and catch the ball, and you do all that, and at the end of the season, you don't have an NIL deal. But that doesn't mean you're not successful. That doesn't mean you didn't reach your goals. So I think right now we're in a really critical time, particularly with high school, that we need to be careful, and we need to make sure that all the young players are appreciated.
I agree with you, but how do you get the genie back in the bottle now?
You can't. You really can't. And it comes again down to those high school coaches to really talk to their team about these things and set realistic goals and standards for their players, and let them know that there are a ton of outliers that we as the media make normal. Like, for a team to have, 3 or 4, 4 or 5-star players and they all get recruited, that's not normal. That's an outlier. But we have to, as media people, we put that on constantly.
Yeah.
And so most of the high schoolers think that's normal. That's not normal.
Yeah.
That's not normal. A very few percentage of people get to even put on a Division I uniform. And I don't think that is, I don't think that is talked about enough, because that's not, what's going to get, people interested.
And I think what scares me is it's like, I mean, you remember, what'd you make your rookie year? How much money? What's your salary?
I was making $300,000.
You were not. Quit lying.
Yeah.
With your signing bonus included?
Yeah. My signing bonus was like $400,000 or something. It was a really crazy story. And if we have time, let me tell you.
Okay. All right.
So Buddy Ryan calls me in college. We had a strength and conditioning coach who was at my college who went to work at Philly. He calls me up. Hey, Buddy loves you. Keep doing what you're doing. So the process goes on. He says, hey, I want you in the first round. I have like the 12th pick or the 13th pick or whatever, and a tight end from Oklahoma, which was Keith Jackson. So as the process continued, the team behind the Eagles wanted a tight end. He calls me. He's like, listen, I'm going to try and get the tight end, move up in the draft and get you. We come draft day. They get the tight end. I'm like the 30th pick in the draft, was like the first pick in the second round. Buddy calls me after the draft. Hey, man, don't worry about it. I'm going to fly you up here. I'm going to cut every corner behind you. I'm going to give you this huge incentive package, but you're going to be our starting corner on day one so you can make the money back. Buddy Ryan was awesome, man.
Wow.
That is a good story. I had Dan Henning, for the love of God. Man.
Wow.
Which, you know what? I want to ask that last question. We had Dan Henning in the worst team I've ever been on in my life, and you guys lost to us in '89. How did that happen?
What is that? We were so roller coaster, after all that stuff happened, man. We were so roller coaster. People were all in their feelings. So, I'm not surprised. Later on, we were losing a little bit.
Yeah.
This might be unfair because, Eric, I don't know how much time you have to watch the local scene, but are there any players in San Diego that you have an eye on that you're saying, wow, this guy?
Oh, man.
Or do you even do you know any of them?
I've been so focused on my son.
Right.
I just really have. And it's been a crazy offseason, but I know I know, like they just had the Honor Bowl, right?
Right.
So usually the San Diego team that wins one of those Honor Bowl games, if we had one that won,
we did.
it's
Madison,
usually the team to watch. Madison looks like they're pretty strong this year, right? And you know, my ties to Cathedral, and of course my son's at Point Loma. So I just know you guys do a great job, and I'm all over the country, and you guys do a unique job of really presenting high school football at just a great time, and love to see it every Friday night.
All right, Eric, I always tell people I'll buy you a steak dinner if you can find another TV station that replicates, not does it better, but just even replicates what the PPR does. You travel the country. Have you seen anything that's come close?
Probably Channel 10 and Fort Worth, Texas.
Channel 10 in Fort Worth.
Really? They got a show like an hour long and everything?
No.
You just making it up?
Well, I was going to check it out.
He's writing it down. He's like, there's no Channel 10 in Fort Worth.
I got you.
Well, I was going to check it out. I mean, because I don't get around the country as you do.
I know.
And you were writing it down like you got Channel 10 Fort Worth.
Well, here's why, Eric. Here's why I'm so proud of it. Is that this management here, this is how much they believe in it. And because TV stations, they make their money with their newscasts. And this place, KUSI, and the McKinnon Broadcasting Company, they have felt the value of high school athletics is so great, they preempt their 11 o'clock newscasts to do a high school football show. And frankly, I've never, and I can't believe they would do it in Dallas or in Fort Worth, Texas, because I know that
they didn't.
Yeah. So that's why I always say steak dinner of your choice. Find me a place that preempts their newscast, because there is no one.
You guys are legit, man. You guys are the real deal. You do an incredible job, and that's one of the things when people come to town. You know, people are huddled around a television on Friday night checking you guys out.
Well, that means a lot, especially to have someone of your caliber who, Bert watching, he's a shut-in. He doesn't do anything. But having someone like you who has social opportunities, that means a lot, Eric.
Yeah, for sure, man.
How long are you going to keep Eric today?
All right, I know. I said we're way
I got one question. You got the red vines? You got the red vines or no?
Yes, I have them. You saw the picture of them. I got them.
All right.
What is that about?
I'll pop up at one of these games or something and present them to you.
I appreciate that.
All right, Eric, I'll let the last question, and we'll let you go because we're well overdue. Look into your computer screen and talk to these kids directly. What message would you want to convey? I love that saying about having stacking days. I think that I'm gonna steal that from you. But other than that, what's your message to? It doesn't have to be football players, to high school kids in general.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really important to understand what the role of football does in your life. And it really creates leadership. You guys are getting a test, right? And how to lead people. And it's not always a quarterback. It's all the way down to the D-line. Whatever position you play in football, it's your really first opportunity to really lead. And many of you guys are going to go on to be CEOs and work in sales, whatever. But you guys will always be able to fall back on this time in high school because it really is about evolving, getting better each day. You guys have done that. And that's extremely, extremely helpful for you guys later on in life, being able to look back and say, you know what, we started in the beginning of July. We worked all through July, finished the season. You know what, I got better each and every day. That's going to leave a mark on your lives when you guys are way beyond your football playing days.
That's why this man he should be a Hall of Famer. That's why he will be a Hall of Famer.
Pretty soon.
Eric, I promise you I will not pester you again for this conversation, but when that ring and gold jacket goes on, we will ask you again, okay?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'll be here.
And Eric, you've been very kind to myself and the PPR, and it's always been greatly appreciated, even when you didn't have to, or you never had to. And the fact that you were so generous with your time, that means a ton, and I want you to know it's greatly appreciated.
All right, now.
Eric Allen, everybody.
All right.
Turn off the machines. We're done.
Thank you, Eric.
Great conversation.